Adaejah Hodge just won Commonwealth Games gold in the 200 meters, and along the way she did something no one in that race had ever done before. Hours after her win, the internet was not just talking about her speed. They were talking about her past, and not everyone thinks she deserved that medal. It happened at Scotstoun Stadium in Glasgow. Hodge was seated so high going into the meet that she skipped the opening heats completely and went straight into the semifinal on a bye that is usually reserved for the biggest names in the event. Once she got on the track, she wasted no time proving why. Running in semifinal 2 with a legal following wind, she ran 22.1 seconds in the 200 meters. And that single run erased the Commonwealth Games record. The old mark belonged to Elaine Thompson-Herah, one of the greatest sprinters alive, set back in 2022 at the Birmingham Games. Hodge beat it as a semifinalist before the final had even started. By the time she walked off the track, everyone in the building knew exactly who they were chasing the next day. A day later, she backed it up. Running out of lane 6 in the final, Hodge got a real fight from Trinidad and Tobago's Shaniqua Bascom, who stayed right with her coming off the bend. For a moment, it looked like Bascom might steal it away. Then Hodge found another gear in the final straight and pulled clear. She crossed the line in 22.7 seconds to take gold. Hodge is 20 years old, and she is from the British Virgin Islands, a small Caribbean territory that had won only one Commonwealth Games gold in its history. Before that day, Hodge became the first female athlete from the British Virgin Islands to ever win Commonwealth gold. After the race, she talked about what that meant for her tiny home territory. She said having a stage like this let her put her country on the map, joking that people would probably start searching for the British Virgin Islands after watching her run. She talked about the beaches back home and told the crowd in rainy Glasgow that sunshine was waiting for them anytime they wanted to visit. This was not a surprise breakout either. Weeks earlier, at the NCAA Outdoor Championships at Hayward Field in Eugene, Oregon, Hodge ran the 100 meters in 10.63 seconds with a legal wind behind her. That time put her among the fastest women to ever run the distance, in the same range as legends. She was already one of the most talked about sprinters on the planet before she even touched the track in Glasgow. So a record-breaking semifinal, a gold medal final, and a first-ever Commonwealth title for a woman from her country. On paper, this looks like a clean, feel-good story. So why is there any debate about it at all? Here is where it gets complicated, and it is important to get this part exactly right. Back in 2024, when Hodge was just 18 years old, she competed at the World Athletics U20 Championships in Lima, Peru. She won gold in the 200 meters and silver in the 100 meters. Big results for a teenager on the rise. But months later, the Athletics Integrity Unit informed her that her drug test from that competition had come back positive. The substance was called GW50151-STIX, a banned metabolic modulator. She was immediately placed under a provisional suspension while the case was investigated. Hodge did not fight the finding. She cooperated with investigators from the very first meeting, which happened in person at her college in Georgia. She explained how she believed the substance got into her system, submitted documentation to back it up, and sat through a second interview months later to answer further questions. She kept working with the Athletics Integrity Unit, providing information for months afterward as the case moved forward. They determined, based on the balance of probabilities, that she ingested the substance unknowingly. It was not intentional cheating. Because she cooperated so thoroughly and admitted to the violation, 7 months of her 2-year ban were suspended under Rule 10.7.1, the anti-doping rule that rewards substantial assistance to an investigation. That brought her total time out down to 17 months. She became eligible to compete again in January. But there is another layer to this, and it changes how people see the whole case. That investigation, run jointly by the Athletics Integrity Unit and the United States Anti-Doping Agency, is still ongoing, and it grew directly out of the positive tests from Hodge and the athletes who trained alongside her. Because of the positive test, Hodge's 2024 World U20 medals were stripped from the official record. Australia's Tori Lewis was upgraded to gold in the 200 meters. the result she originally crossed the line second in. Lewis later said publicly that finding out she was actually the first clean athlete across that line, a year and a half after the race had already happened, felt like strange news to receive so long after the fact. Here is the detail that really lit up the debate. The Athletics Integrity Unit did not announce any of this until March, more than a year after the positive test, and only after Hodge had already finished serving her entire suspension. They announced it 2 days after she had just won an NCAA indoor title in the 200 meters, with a time of 22:22, finishing runner-up in the 60 meters and powering her university team to a national championship. That 200-meter run made her the fourth fastest collegiate performer of all time in the event. To a lot of fans, the timing looked suspicious. Why wait so long, and why let her compete first? The Athletics Integrity Unit later explained why. Normally, they announce every provisional suspension right away, but there is an exception in the rules. When an athlete provides serious help to an ongoing investigation, like Hodge did by cooperating against her old coach, the announcement can be delayed. Her silence was not hidden wrongdoing. It was part of the deal for helping investigators build a bigger case against Fury. Still, once the news broke, the reaction online was messy. Some fans felt for her, pointing out she was a teenager who did not knowingly take anything, cooperated with every request from investigators, and did everything right once she found out. They argued that punishing her further would be unfair when the people running the investigation had already agreed. The mistake was not intentional. Other fans were harsher, arguing that a positive test is a positive test no matter the explanation, and that the timing looked convenient for everyone involved. A rule violation is still a rule violation in their eyes, whether it was intentional or not. Both sides have stayed loud ever since, and neither one has really backed down. That is the story Hodge carried into Glasgow. A record-breaking semifinal, a first Commonwealth gold for a woman from her country, and a doping case in her past that some fans have already forgiven and others have not. Both things are true at the same time, and that is exactly why this win sparked so much discussion instead of simple celebration. What nobody disputes is the time on the clock. 22:01 in the semifinal, 22:07 in the final. A Commonwealth Games record and a historic gold for the British Virgin Islands, earned in the same week Hodge became one of the most talked-about names in the sport. Where her story goes from here depends on what she does with the spotlight she just earned. Drop your take in the comments. Does Adaejah Hodge deserve a clean slate, or should this follow her? Subscribe for the next update on her season.